Hello, Professor BRB here. Today we're going to learn to create a simple circle logo using the Type on a Path tool. So first, let's just explore the Type on a Path tool here. And any way we can create a path in Illustrator will work fine for this. I'm using the pen tool. You could use the pencil tool, and that would be fine. And you can create just any shape path that you want. Doesn't really matter if it has a stroke or a fill. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then under the type tools here, I'm going to pull those off. You'll see that we have right here, number 3, Type on a Path tool. I select that and click on my path. You'll see that the stroke and the fill has disappeared and my cursor has kind of gone to the middle here. I'm going to show you why it did that. I'm going to go to my typography workspace, my paragraph palette, and you'll notice that because I was working earlier with something else, that my paragraph alignment was set to centered. So I'm going to go and change it to align left, and now my cursor just pops right back there. So I can start I can just start typing. Oops, I can just start typing here, and my type will go on a path. If I delete this, I can also import type from any Microsoft Word file through File, Place. And if I choose a Microsoft Word file previously typed, it will also import the text onto that path. And of course I can select the type and use my character formatting here to make it large or small, and to change my type font, my type size. It's like any other type in Illustrator. I can tell that I have excess text from the word processing document that is not showing by the fact that I have this little red box with a plus sign here. If I click on that, I get a loaded text icon, and I can drag that text out and make it appear here and see just exactly how much text I have to work with. But right now I want to work with a shorter amount, so I'm just going to do Command-A, select everything, and delete that. And delete this extra text frame here. And let's this time try drawing a shape with the pencil tool, which works just as well. And I'm going to convert that once again to Type on a Path. And I'm going to type. If I want to move my type around on my path, I choose my selection tool, and I'll get a series of 3 brackets. There is a start bracket here, and I can drag that around to drag the start. There is an end bracket. Let me just pull this back a little bit. And I can drag that around to show the end. Command-Z to undo that. And almost most importantly, there is a center bracket right here. If you grab that, you can pull the position of your type along your path, and more importantly, you can pull it down so that it'll go underneath the path. So that's a very, very important one. You can also control how the type sits on the path. If you go to your type menu and choose Type on a Path, type on a path options, you have all kinds of options here. And align to path can be ascender, let's go to preview here, descender, center, or the default, which is baseline. You can also control spacing here. For example, if I add a positive number, it tries to compensate for any spacing errors that occur when you have type going across a too sharp curve. So let's get started on our logo. I'm going to go down here. This is what we're going to create. So we'll look at our ingredients here. I have a illustration, and then I have an ellipse that is exactly the same size as the illustration. Now I want to have a slightly larger ellipse here, so I'm going to go to Object, Path, Offset Path, and click Preview here, and this setting of 3 picas, 6 points looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to click OK there. Now I have 2 paths, and I have to ungroup them here. I'm just going to put this out of the way. Now I can put my type on this path. So I choose my Type on a Path tool here. And before I do that, I'm going to check my paragraph alignment, and I want to set it to centered. Now you would think that if I wanted my type to start up here at the top that I would click there, but in fact this is not true. For some reason, and I don't understand quite why it's like this, but in order to get my type to start at the top, I have to click right in the center at the bottom. And then my cursor goes up here. And there we go. I want my type to be a little bigger, so I'll switch to my type tool and select this and make it, I don't know, maybe 50, 51 points. Let's try 51 points. That looks about right. And I want to add a little bit of tracking here, which will give a little extra space between the letters. So I'm going to maybe track it out to 50. Okay, that looks pretty good. Just a note that on this kind of logo, it is better to use all capitals, and this font, Copperplate Gothic Bold, only has capitals. It's a display font. But ascenders and descenders of lowercase tend to kind of not look great in this sort of format. So this looks pretty good, and the next thing that I want to do is, just going to delete that, I don't need it anymore. I want to get my type to go down the bottom here, and I cannot have my type be on the top and on the bottom of the same ellipse. So what I have to do is make a copy. And then I grab my bracket here. Notice I'm in my black arrow, my selection tool. I can grab this bracket and drag it down. It's a little tricky. It jumps around on me here. A little tricky to get it exactly where I want it. But with a little bit of patience, you can get it to work. Come on. There we go. Now what I'm going to do here, let's just go to outline view for a moment so we can see what's going on, is when I do this, it's not going to look quite right. You can see why that is. This is going to be too high compared to this. So I'm going to select them both and go to Type, Type on a Path, Type on a Path Options, choose Preview here, And instead of aligning them both to the baseline, I'm going to align them to the center. And that looks great. So with my type tool, I can select this down here and type in my new copy. And then go to my selection tool. Maybe I'll group these two, just to keep them from going apart. And my smart guides help me get those nicely centered. So all I need to do now, let me turn my example back on here, is add my green background and we will be done. So I'm going to turn on a layer in my layers palette, and earlier I created another ellipse the same size as the ellipses I placed my type on, and I'm simply going to change the stroke color here to green and change the weight of the stroke to 80. And I can move this behind here, and it lines up just great. There's just one little tiny detail I want to correct here. I notice that this type is sitting a little bit lower than I want it to inside my green ring. So I'm going to go to my character palette here and show options. And then I get a very useful option here called a baseline shift. And I want this to go up. So I'm going to choose a positive number here, maybe just 3 points. Start with that, just a little bit more. And now that looks much better to me. So this is the Type in a Path tool and the Type in a Path options in Adobe Illustrator.